Celeb 20 news updates.
Celeb 20.
Ahead of the buzz.
All things celebrity.
So let's continue this story.
Man, this one's tough. This deep dive is into the life and legacy of Ken Flores, and honestly, it's hitting me hard.
Yeah.
We lost him way too soon.
Well, way too soon.
But we've got this amazing article about his journey, and I think it would be great to just kind of uncover what made him such a force in the comedy world. Like, what made audiences and his fellow comics connect with him so strongly. What was it about, Ken?
You know, I think one of the things that I found really interesting about the article is, you know, it doesn't just celebrate his humor,
right,
but it actually acknowledges all the rough patches early in his career, those moments that could have made anyone, I think, want to give up.
Yeah.
And, you know, seeing that and seeing him become so successful later, I think that makes it even more powerful.
Absolutely. So let's rewind. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Ken's beginnings in Chicago. The article mentions his Puerto Rican family, and they were kind of famous for their dinner table roasts. So I'm imagining a young Ken already kind of honing those comedic instincts around the dinner table. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And the article actually highlights how much our early environments can actually shape our path. You know, that love for humor.
Right.
That love for connecting with people through laughter. It seems like it was instilled in him at an early age, and it's so cool to see how that played out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he makes this huge leap, moves to LA at 19. I mean, can you imagine?
Oh, gosh.
And of course, he's barely scraping by. And I love that the article talks about that first open mic night, a total bomb.
He even jokes about it later, saying the only laugh he got was when he tripped on the stairs.
Oh!
I know, it's kind of like a cliche, right? That struggling artist story.
Right.
But I think it's a good reminder that even the greats, they start somewhere, often with a healthy dose of humility.
Absolutely. So how did he go from bombing on stage to packing these rooms just a few years later? What was the transformation?
Well, I mean, you could see his dedication to his craft really shines through. But beyond that, the article points to his natural talent, particularly with crowd work.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just delivering pre-written material. He was actually like reading the room. He was interacting and creating these really spontaneous moments of like brilliance.
Yeah, and the article actually calls him the crowd work king, which for comedy fans, that's a big deal.
Huge.
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 Yeah, and it's not easy to make that connection, you know, with a live audience and to make them feel like they're part of the act. It's real talent.
Oh, yeah, and that's where we start to see what sets Ken apart. Even his mentor, Felipe Esparza, he said that Ken could read a room like a psychic.
Wow.
But it wasn't just about picking on somebody, you know, randomly. Ken was able to like find these little details, those quirks that make us human, and turn them into these like shared moments of laughter.
I love that. There's this one story in the article where he roasts this guy's outfit.
Yeah.
And then like buys him a drink afterwards. It wasn't about being mean. It was about creating this atmosphere where everybody's inclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we're all in on the joke.
Yeah. So it speaks to this, you know, genuine warmth and his ability to connect with people, like not just as an audience, but as person.
On a human level.
Exactly. And I think what really hit me hard reading this article was the outpouring of grief from like the entire comedy world.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just these polite condolences, it's genuine heartbreak. You know, big names, Joe Coy, Gabriel Iglesias, they're sharing these stories that just reveal this depth of connection that they had with Ken.
It is remarkable. And then you have Renee Vaca, his termite and close friend. They were about to go on this huge national tour, the $1 Million Trio with Ralph Barbosa. This was going to be Ken's big break.
Yeah, you can hear the emotion in Renee's voice when he talks about it in the article. And the fact that he's now dedicating the tour to Ken with all the proceeds going to his family. I mean,
that speaks volumes.
It really does. And, you know, it highlights this strong sense of community within the comedy world. It's not just a business, it's a family.
Right.
And they rally around each other, especially in these difficult times.
Absolutely. So we've talked about his beginnings, his rise through the ranks, this immense talent for crowd work. But what about his material? What kind of jokes was he known for?
You know, I think to answer that question, we need to go beyond, you know, the tributes and anecdotes.
Okay.
We need to dive into the heart of his comedy. What were the themes he explored? What made his comedic voice so unique? And that's what we'll be looking at.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. What was it about Ken's comedy that resonated with people?
Well, the article mentions how he drew a lot from his personal experiences, especially his family life.
Right.
And it wasn't just about telling these funny stories. It was about finding humor in, like, universal struggles, those relatable moments that make us all human.
Yeah. And he wasn't afraid to be self-deprecating either, right? To make fun of his own flaws.
Exactly.
And in doing so, he created this vulnerability that I think allowed audiences to connect with him on this deeper level, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't just about punchlines. It was about, like, being authentic, sharing his truth through humor.
Yeah.
And I think that's what resonated with people.
Yeah, this authenticity is something that comes up again and again in the article, not just in his comedy, but in his personal life as well. It's who he was.
Exactly. And that actually leads us to a more sensitive topic. Ken struggles with mental health.
Right.
Even with all this success he was experiencing, he was still battling these personal demons.
And he had a podcast, Laughing Through It, where he would talk pretty openly about using comedy as a form of therapy.
Yes.
It's a reminder that even the funniest people, the people who bring so much joy to others, you know, can be fighting these internal battles.
And by being so open about his struggles, I think he helped to destigmatize mental health and created this space for others to feel seen and understood.
Yeah, this honesty and this vulnerability are recurring themes in the article. He wasn't afraid to show his flaws, his imperfections, and that made him even more relatable to his fans.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we're all human, we all have our struggles, and it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
And I think that is a really powerful message that Ken embodied both on and off stage.
Yeah, his willingness to be real, to share those vulnerabilities is something I really admire about him.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage to do that, especially in a world where, you know, we're so pressured to present this perfect image.
Especially in this day and age.
Exactly. And then there's the representation aspect. The article mentions how important it was for him to inspire young Latinx kids to pursue their dreams. He wanted to show them that it was possible.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't just about, you know, him being successful. It was about him wanting to show them that they could do it too.
Yeah. He even says in the article, I want brown kids to see me and think, that could be me up there.
Yeah.
And through his hard work and talent, he achieved that. You know, he became that role model, proving that you can succeed no matter where you come from.
Yeah. It's a powerful legacy.
Yeah.
And one that will continue to inspire for generations to come.
And it's all the more poignant knowing that his journey was cut short, you know?
It makes you wonder what else he could have achieved.
Right.
What other impact he could have had.
Right. But even in his short life, he touched so many lives with his humor, his kindness, his authenticity.
He really did.
Yeah.
And that's something worth celebrating. He left the world a little brighter,
a
little kinder, and a lot funnier.
Yeah.
And that's a legacy that will endure.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think it's time to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about that tour that could have changed everything. You know, it was set to be his biggest break yet. Sold out shows in major cities. It was huge.
It's clear from the article that this tour wasn't just about fame and fortune for him.
Right.
It was about growth, pushing himself creatively, connecting with those audiences on an even larger scale.
Right, and he was dedicated to being his best self on and off stage, right?
Yep.
The article mentions a tweet where he talks about staying sober for 10 shows, and that takes, that takes discipline, that takes commitment, especially in a world like stand-up comedy.
Yeah. It does. And his tour partner, Ralph Barboza, shares this story about how they would practice bits in hotel rooms and until 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So, Ken was clearly passionate about his craft.
Yeah.
And he wasn't afraid to put in the work.
It's incredible to think about his dedication, his drive to constantly improve. And it makes his sudden passing even more heartbreaking, you know?
It does. But I think it's important to focus on what he did achieve.
Yeah.
The joy that he brought and the lasting impact he had on the comedy world.
Absolutely. And speaking of lasting impact, we can't forget about this unreleased comedy special, right? The one filmed just weeks before he passed.
Right. And people who've seen it are saying it's his best work yet.
Wow.
Raw, unfiltered, and just full of his signature charm.
Wow. It's being described as a masterpiece, a final gift to his fans, and a testament to his comedic genius.
And what's even more remarkable is that the proceeds from the special are going to mental health charities.
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful way to honor his memory while supporting a cause that was so close to his heart.
Absolutely. It really speaks to his character, his desire to make a difference. Even after he's gone, it's really powerful.
It's a legacy that continues to give.
I know we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive, but there's still so much more to explore. And in the next part, I want to dive into some of those incredible stories, those heartwarming and hilarious anecdotes that really capture Ken, who he was.
I'm looking forward to that. It's through those stories that we can truly appreciate his impact, not just as a comedian, but as a friend, a mentor, and a human being.
So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more insights into the life and legacy of the one and only Ken Flores.
It's amazing how, even as we start to kind of peel back the layers of someone's story, you see so much of their character revealed in just those little details.
Absolutely. And what's so striking about Ken is that, like, this humor wasn't just something he performed on stage. It was, like, woven into who he was as a person.
That's so true. And, I think that's what made the tributes from the comedy world so powerful.
Right.
It wasn't just about remembering his jokes. It was about remembering the man behind the laughter and all those stories.
Exactly. And some of those stories, are just gold.
Oh, yeah.
Like Joe Coy shares the story about sending Ken a DM on Instagram praising his talent. And he says, "You and Renee are the future." And Ken reposts it with the caption, "When your idol becomes your hype man."
Oh, that's great.
It's this beautiful glimpse into his humility and his excitement for his craft.
Yeah, to have somebody like Joe Coy, recognize his talent.
Yeah.
That must have been incredible for him.
Absolutely. And it shows that he never lost that sense of awe, that appreciation for the support.
Yeah, totally.
And it wasn't just Joe Coy either. Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy himself, called Ken the kindest soul in comedy.
Wow.
And that's saying a lot, coming from someone who's known for, his own warmth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And generosity.
And then you have Felipe Esparza, who called him Big Little Brother.
I love that.
Which is it's so perfect because it captures their relationship.
Yeah.
That mentorship, that affection, and the fact that Ken was like a foot taller than him.
I know.
Makes it even funnier.
I know. But I think the most gut-wrenching tributes, they come from Renee Vaca, his tour mate and close friend.
It's a tough one.
They were weeks away from launching this national tour, $1 Million Trio, when he passed.
Yeah, it's just this tragic reminder of how quickly things can change.
Yeah.
And you can just hear the heartbreak in his words when he talks about how excited they were, how much they believed in this tour, and what it was going to do.
Yeah. And even in his grief, Renee is determined to honor Ken's legacy.
Yeah.
By completing this tour with all the proceeds going to Ken's family.
Yeah,
it's a powerful gesture, and it speaks to the strength of their friendship.
It really does.
And this tour, it was going to be big. Sold out shows, national exposure. This was it for him.
This was his moment.
And it wasn't just about the fame, right? He was so dedicated to growing as a comedian. The article mentions a tweet where he talks about doing 10 shows completely sober.
Oh, wow.
That's not easy, especially in, the world of stand-up.
No, not at all. It shows a real commitment to his craft.
Yeah.
That desire to be, present and fully engaged in his performance.
And then you have Ralph Barbosa, his tour partner, telling the story about how they would stay up, practicing bits until 3 a.m. in these tiny hotel rooms. This wasn't just ambition, it was pure passion.
It really was.
And it makes his loss, I think, even more tragic, knowing how much he was pouring into his career, how much he still had left to give.
It does. But, like we were saying before, I think it's really important to remember the joy that he brought to audiences.
Yeah.
The laughter that he created and the impact that he had on everyone who knew him.
And thankfully, we'll still get to experience some of that magic through his unreleased comedy special.
Yes. The one filmed just before he passed.
People are calling it a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's raw, it's unfiltered, it's classic Ken.
It is. And the fact that the proceeds are going to mental health charities, it's
perfect.
It's fitting and it's so special.
It's a beautiful tribute to his legacy, considering how open he was about his own struggles.
Yes.
And his desire to help others.
It speaks to the depth of his character, his desire to make a difference even after he's gone.
Yeah. Okay, I want to circle back to something we touched on a little bit earlier.
Sure.
His unique ability to connect with audiences through his crowd work.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think made him stand out?
Well, it wasn't just about being, quick-witted or good at improvisation. There was a real warmth and kindness in his approach. Yeah. It wasn't about, embarrassing or belittling anyone. He was finding these shared moments, these relatable experiences that make us human.
It wasn't just picking on someone in the audience. It was more like having a conversation, drawing people in, making them feel like they were part of this special moment together.
Yeah, exactly. Like, remember that story about him roasting the guy's outfit and then buying him the drink afterwards? It perfectly encapsulates his style.
Right.
He could poke fun, but it was never mean-spirited.
And he had this uncanny ability to read a room. Felipe Esparza called him a psychic. How did he do that? What made his crowd work so effective?
I think it was a combination of, sharp observation and genuine empathy.
Right.
He wasn't just looking for a punchline. He was paying attention to people, their body language, their reactions, their energy.
Yeah.
And he could use that information to create these spontaneous moments of connection.
There's an art to that, being able to read those cues.
Oh, for sure.
And respond in a way that's funny and engaging.
Yeah, and it requires a certain level of vulnerability too.
Right,
A willingness to let go of the script and just trust your instincts.
Absolutely. So we've talked a lot about his professional life, but what about the man behind the jokes?
Yeah, the man behind the jokes.
What was Ken like off stage?
Well, the article, it paints this picture of someone who is really connected to his family and his roots. He called his mom every night, no matter where he was.
That's so sweet.
Isn't it? It shows this side of him that we maybe didn't see on stage.
Right, exactly.
He was grounded.
Yeah.
Despite all the success, he was still that same, down-to-earth guy.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the importance of those personal connections, those people who keep us anchored.
Right. It's a good reminder that behind every comedian, behind every performer, there's a real person.
Whole life outside of that spotlight.
Exactly. And I think it's important to acknowledge that part of his story as well.
Oh, yeah.
The complexities, the nuances that make us all human.
Yeah, it makes him even more relatable.
And it brings us back to, his struggles with mental health.
Right.
It's a serious topic, but it's also, I think, a really important one, especially in the world of stand-up comedy, where there's so much pressure to be on all the time.
Right, to make people laugh.
Even when you're hurting inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, Ken's openness and honesty were so powerful.
Yeah.
He didn't shy away from talking about these things, both in his comedy and on his podcast, laughing through it.
He used humor as a way to cope.
Yeah. But he also acknowledged that it wasn't always enough,
Right.
He talked about seeking professional help.
Yeah.
Finding healthy ways to manage those battles.
Absolutely. And by doing so, he really helped to destigmatize mental health and make it easier for others to talk about their own struggles.
Right.
To seek support.
It's a reminder that even the funniest people, the ones who seem to have it all together, can be fighting these internal battles.
It's okay to not be okay.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a testament to his character.
Yeah.
That he was willing to be so vulnerable, so open.
Right.
Especially in such a public way.
He could have kept all that private.
Right.
But he chose to use his platform to really raise awareness and to encourage others to seek help.
And I think that really speaks to his desire to make a difference.
Yeah.
To leave the world a little bit better.
It does. It's one of the many reasons why his legacy will endure. Okay, I want to shift gears just a bit and talk about the outpouring of love from his fans.
Yeah.
It's been incredible to witness.
It really has. The hashtag #KenForever hashtag is trending.
Yeah.
Fans are sharing their memories, their favorite clips. It's really beautiful.
And TikTok has basically become this repository for all of his best crowd work moments.
Right. It's amazing how social media can be this platform for collective grief and remembrance.
It's so true. And it's not just online either. Fans have been leaving these sticky notes at his favorite spots around LA, these little messages of love and appreciation.
That's really touching.
And his friends in the comedy world, they're doing their part to keep his memory alive.
Yeah.
Renee Vaca actually dedicated his recent show to Ken, ended it with this tearful standing ovation.
Wow, what a powerful image.
I know.
A room full of people united, celebrating his life and laughter.
And Renee even joked that Ken was probably up in heaven heckling the angel.
Oh, that's great.
It's this perfect blend of humor and heartbreak, really capturing the essence of Ken's spirit.
It's a reminder that even in the midst of loss, we can find solace in those happy memories.
Right.
And in sharing those memories with others.
And I think that's one of the most important takeaways from Ken's story.
Absolutely. He taught us to laugh, to be kind, to be vulnerable, and to never give up on our dreams.
And while his life was cut short, his legacy, it's going to continue to inspire us to live our lives to the fullest, to connect with others, and to find the humor in the everyday.
Yeah. I think it's time to shift our focus a bit to, his comedic style.
Okay.
And what made it so unique? What were the themes that he explored in his material?
Right.
How did he craft his jokes? What set him apart?
Okay, so let's dive into that. What set Ken apart from other comedians? What made his style so unique?
Well, he drew a lot from his personal experiences, his family life, his upbringing in Chicago. But it wasn't just about telling these funny stories.
Right.
He had a knack for finding those universal truths in these everyday moments, the things that we can all relate to,
right,
regardless of our background.
He wasn't afraid to be self-deprecating,
no,
to make fun of his own flaws and insecurities, and that's what made him so relatable.
It did. He wasn't trying to be this larger-than-life persona on stage. He was just being himself. Flaws and all.
Yeah.
And that authenticity, I think, really resonated.
Yeah, it made him human.
Yeah, exactly.
And the article mentions that his material, often explored themes of family, relationships, those challenges of navigating adulthood.
The things that we all struggle with.
He found humor in those everyday struggles.
Oh, absolutely.
That we all face.
Yeah. He could take something as mundane as a trip to the grocery store.
Right.
And turn it into this hilarious bit about, the absurdities of modern life.
Right. And he wasn't afraid to tackle these heavier topics either, mental health and societal issues.
He wasn't. But even when he was dealing with those heavier subjects, he always managed to find that thread of humor.
Yeah.
That spark of light that could make you laugh, even as you were contemplating something really profound.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
But he pulled it off masterfully.
Yeah, a testament to his talent as both a writer and a performer.
Speaking of writing, I'm curious about his process.
Oh, yeah.
How did he develop his material? Did he have a method, a routine?
Well, the article doesn't get too deep into the specifics of his process, but it does mention that he was constantly jotting down ideas, observing people, finding inspiration in, just the world around him.
It sounds like he was always on, in a way.
Yeah, always looking for those little nuggets of humor.
Yeah.
He could then transform it to something special.
That's the mark of a true comedian, I think.
Yeah, being able to see that funny side of things in those most unexpected places.
And it's clear he wasn't afraid to experiment either. To try new things, to kind of push the boundaries.
Oh, yeah, he was a risk taker.
Yeah.
But he was also really smart about it.
Right.
Yeah. He knew how to push the envelope without, alienating his audience.
It's a rare skill.
It is. It takes a certain self-awareness and a deep understanding of who you're talking to.
And I think it's also important to acknowledge the impact that he had on representation in comedy.
Oh, yeah.
The article mentions how much he wanted to inspire these young Latinx kids to pursue their dreams.
That was clearly a really important part of his mission.
Yeah.
He wanted to show them that it was possible to succeed in a field that hasn't always been welcoming to people of color.
He even says, I want brown kids to see me and think, that could be me up there.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And through his hard work, his talent, he achieved that. He became that role model.
He did.
Proving that you can break down barriers and achieve your goals no matter where you come from.
Yeah. It's a legacy that will continue to inspire.
And it's especially important, I think, in a time when representation is more crucial than ever.
Absolutely. We need more voices like Ken's, more people who are willing to challenge that status quo and pave the way for others.
And speaking of challenging the status quo, I want to talk about his decision to be open about his mental health struggles.
Oh, yeah.
It was a bold move, especially in a field, where there's the stigma attached to talking about those things.
Yeah, it was a brave thing to do.
He could have easily kept those things private, but he chose to share those struggles, hoping that it would help others.
And that says so much about his character.
It does. He was more than just a comedian. He was a role model, an advocate.
Yeah.
He was a voice for the voiceless.
Absolutely.
And his willingness to be vulnerable, to show those imperfections.
Yeah.
It made him so relatable to his fans.
It really humanized him,
Yeah.
Made him feel like one of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone we could connect with on a deeper level.
And that's a powerful thing.
Yeah, it is.
And it's something that we can all learn from.
Absolutely. Ken taught us to be kind, to be compassionate, and to be accepting of ourselves and others.
And he taught us to laugh, even when things are tough.
That's a gift that will stay with us long after he's gone.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I just want to leave you with this thought. Ken's story, it's a reminder that life is precious.
Yeah.
And that we should cherish every moment.
It's a reminder to, pursue your passions, connect with others, be kind, and to never stop laughing, even in the face of adversity.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to take a closer look at his unreleased comedy special.
Yes.
The one that's being hailed as a masterpiece.
We'll explore the themes, the jokes, and the legacy that he'll leave behind.
It's a bittersweet opportunity
It is.
to experience his brilliance one last time.
I can't wait.
So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more insights into the life and legacy of the one and only Ken Flores.
All right, so we're back. And, we've talked about his journey, his impact, the love from fans and friends. But there's this one piece we haven't really gotten to yet. His unreleased comedy special.
Yeah, it's almost like, a final chapter.
Right.
A chance for him to have the last laugh, even though he's not here with us.
From what I've heard, it's something special. The article, it talks about, people describing it as raw, unfiltered, like the culmination of everything that made his comedy so unique.
It seems like it really does capture the essence of who he was.
Yeah.
Both on stage and off. The humor, that vulnerability, that connection he had with people.
Yeah. And it makes sense then that all the proceeds are going to mental health charities. Mm-hmm. It's a fitting tribute, I think, to his commitment.
Oh, absolutely.
To raising awareness and helping others who are struggling.
Yeah, it's more than just, a financial contribution.
Right. It ensures that his message of hope and resilience continues to reach people who need it most.
So let's talk about the special. Like, what can we expect? What themes does he explore? What kind of jokes are we in for?
Well, based on, the article and snippets that I've seen, it seems like he really dives into his personal experiences. Family, relationships, the ups and downs of, being a young comedian trying to make it in L.A.
But I'm guessing he doesn't shy away from the heavier stuff either.
Oh, no.
Right. The mental health stuff, the social issues.
It wouldn't be a Ken Flores special without that honesty, that willingness to, tackle those tougher subjects.
Yeah, there's this one bit that the article mentions about his experience in therapy and how he learned to laugh at his own neuroses.
I love that.
Classic Ken, right?
Classic Ken.
It's that ability to find humor in those dark places.
It's the beauty of his comedy, right? He could make you laugh about things you never thought were funny. And by doing that, he made it okay to talk about these things,
right?
To not feel so alone.
Yeah, it's a reminder that laughter can be incredibly healing
for everyone involved.
So even though we've lost Ken, his voice is still going to be out there through his work, especially in this special.
It's his chance to have the last word, to leave us with something that'll make us smile,
right?
Think for years to come.
And it's a reminder that his legacy, it's so much bigger than just the stage, right?
Oh, yeah.
His impact on the comedy world, his mental health advocacy, his dedication to representation. These are all things that'll continue to make a difference long after he's gone.
And for those of us who never got to see him perform live, this special is going to be an incredible opportunity to experience that brilliance, to understand why he connected with people so deeply.
It's like this time capsule of his talent, his humor, his heart, and I can't wait to see it.
Me too. And I think it's important to remember that, when this special comes out, you'll have a chance not just to laugh along with Ken,
right,
but to support a cause that meant so much to him.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful way to honor his memory, to make sure that his legacy continues to impact the world.
I couldn't agree more.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and legacy of Ken Flores, I just want to leave you with this. Life is precious. Laughter is a gift.
It really is.
And sometimes those who leave us too soon, they teach us the most important lessons.
Ken reminded us to, embrace our vulnerabilities, find the humor in the everyday, connect with others, and to never stop chasing those dreams.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. It's been an emotional one. We hope you were touched by his story, inspired by his spirit, and that you maybe rediscovered the power of laughter.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep laughing. You never know what you might find.